Actually, we've had an acceleration in the middle of the day. I don't know what was the reason for that. Let's make the intro like again, just to.
Sure.
Sorry, but
not a problem.
We've had. Okay. We are live now on the right channel. Okay. Good evening, Michael, and welcome to the Italian Tasty Club. Buonasera a tutti gli spettatori italiani e benvenuti a questo webinar con questo ospite speciale, Michael Rechenthin del team di tastylive.
That's right.
Vi do il benvenuto e stavo appunto chiacchierando con Michael pochi secondi fa per ricordare insieme a lui il fatto che lui fa proprio parte della storia del Tasty Club italiano, perché è stato colui che ha dato un po' il via a questo progetto. Quando abbiamo fatto la prima giornata tutti insieme il 10 settembre del 2021 a Riccione, che è stato il primo appuntamento in cui abbiamo messo in una sala all'Hotel Corallo tutti gli appassionati di opzioni, abbiamo spiegato tutte le logiche tastytrade, abbiamo dato il via a questo progetto, Michael era l'ospite di quella giornata e ci ha mostrato un sacco di cose interessanti. Abbiamo avuto la possibilità di fare una chiacchierata. Dopo un anno e passa, abbiamo ormai avuto un ottimo successo con questo progetto del Tasty Club e abbiamo voglia di rifare una chiacchierata con lui per sentire che novità ci sono. So, basically, I mean, 1 year and something has passed and we are really eager to know from you, the head of the research department of tastylive, what are the news and what's going on there? How is the look back application that was just born when we talked the last time? How is it developing? And what have been the updates that you've been developing in this time, and where are you planning to bring it?
Sure, absolutely. And I could actually bring that up here in just a second. But one of the biggest things that we've got going on with the look back application is we actually have this in staging right now, and we'll give you like actually a sneak peek of it, and you can actually use it.
Wow.
And this isn't public, so you guys are the only ones that actually have it. So I expect lots of emails on it. Dr.data at tastytrade, or I'm sorry, dr.data at tastylive.com is how you can access it, and you can reach me, and always just send me an email if you got any questions. Great. But the website is going to be staging.lookback.tastylive.com.
Let me translate that. Allora, gli ho chiesto che voglio fare una chiacchierata a 360 gradi con lui, ma la cosa su cui mi vorrei concentrare di più è come in questo anno e qualcosa dall'ultima volta che abbiamo chiacchierato con lui, come ho spiegato nel video che ho pubblicato stamattina, si è sviluppata quell'applicativo di backtesting estremamente figo e interessante che i ragazzi di tastylive hanno creato ormai un annetto e qualcosa fa e stanno continuando a sviluppare. Si tratta di una cosa fantastica, cioè un'applicazione online e gratuita che permette di effettuare backtest sulle strategie in opzioni di tutti i tipi e avere i risultati. Lui ha detto: lo stiamo sviluppando tanto e stasera vi do un'anticipazione che non è ancora pubblica, e quindi ci fa vedere una piccola anteprima solamente per noi del Tasty Club italiano, in generale noi opzionisti italiani, e ha detto che se vogliamo dargli dei feedback il suo indirizzo email è dr.data@tastylive.com, quindi possiamo raggiungerlo direttamente, e l'applicativo che ci sta facendo vedere è al link staging.lookback.com. Dopo ve lo scriviamo nei commenti. Ecco, infatti lui ha già messo la cosa. Please, you can share your screen and go on and comment.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I'm actually going to talk about just a few things, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You want to stop computer? Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, how's that look right there? Looks good?
Amazing.
Excellent. Let me move this little thing around. Okay, so this right here, I do have to tell you, this is a staging, as you just mentioned. Yeah. So there may be bugs in it, but we believe this is an improvement on the last one, and the this will always have the most up to date, but it is staging. So to get to the real one, you just basically just remove that staging.
Remove the staging and go to
it. And that comes out to the most that comes out to the production environment. Yeah. But I'm just going to go put it back into this staging environment. You will need your username, and your username, you can just hook it up to your Google account, and you can use your Google credentials, your Google authentication to use it. So we got we got actually different windows here that are popping up, different tabs. The first is just back testing. This is just a simple type back testing, right? So let's say you do Coca-Cola. You want to choose someplace, let's say you wanted to choose something from last year.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from last year. And then you want to see how well a strategy has worked on just one particular date. Okay, it's a short put all the way out from this date all the way out to this.
So it's like a single day backtesting, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you can see what the results of those trades are when you're doing it. You can also then you can do the existing, which is the advanced backtesting, and you can choose the start dates and the end dates.
Yeah.
And and this is what it is before, but now we're calling this advanced backtesting, right? And this has been sped up here too. And then the backtesting, we have just a little bit of work to do on that, but this is going to be a really nice feature for people right here. And this is right within the, we're very close to getting that completed. And then also the existing functionality, which is the simulation, the ability to choose a simulation on an existing trade, right? So you can choose a strategy right now, let's say, and let's just clean this up. And let's look at this March expiration.
Okay.
And then you can choose, you can look at your forecasted probabilities and outcomes, and you have the window as we've seen before, right? And it shows you the probabilities of being above or below a certain point. And you can try to aim for these green areas, these levels of expectations.
Okay. So when you say simulation, that right now in the actual application is called forward testing, right?
Yes, yes.
It's basically a projection of a position that you may have on your portfolio right now, and then you project probabilities into the future. So it's not like a forward testing in the traditional meaning of the world when you talk about back testing, that you optimize for a certain set of data and then you forward test on a past but subsequent set of data, right?
What we're doing here is we're basically using a Monte Carlo type simulation, and we're using modifications of the Black-Scholes formula as a way of determining where the expected the expected profit zones would be, and the profitabilities in the losses would be based on those option prices, based on the theoretical option prices. So these are all going to be theoretical, but options are very mathematical, so they fall within those expectations. Now, the only thing that may change things during the time is if you have huge increases in implied volatility or whatnot. But these are going to be according to theory, and usually that's what we see.
Yeah. Let me translate, please. So, ragazzi, ovvio che lui va molto in fretta, quindi io cerco un po' di stargli dietro. Eventualmente, se c'è qualcosa che vi serve, che vi perdete come passaggio, vi prego di chiedermelo nella chat, scrivermi, così riesco a recuperare quello che serve. Ad ogni modo, Michael ci sta mostrando l'applicativo versione avanzata, cioè quello che è ancora in staging, quindi in beta, tra virgolette, dove ci sono queste tre finestre: backtesting, advanced backtesting e simulation, che vi permettono di fare tre cose diverse. Backtesting ti permette di andare a vedere proprio nel passato come ha performato una certa posizione, quindi voi andate a vedere per esempio il giorno 15 aprile del 2018 una sell put, che risultato ha avuto per un certo titolo, oppure una short strangle, oppure qualunque altra cosa. E quindi è un backtesting puntuale. Invece nella sezione Advanced Backtesting vi permette invece di andare a vedere come performa una strategia nel passato, con proprio delle logiche di apertura, chiusura, take profit e stop loss, quindi un vero backtest, per così dire. Invece la parte che adesso nell'applicativo attuale si chiama Forward Testing, che adesso hanno rinominato Simulation, fa una cosa un po' diversa. Non fa il Forward Testing come lo chiamiamo noi, o perlomeno chi di voi possa avere un po' di dimestichezza con l'argomento dei backtesting, ma fa proprio una simulazione futura. cioè prende la situazione di adesso, voi aprite le posizioni che avete in portafoglio ora e vi proietta sul futuro, alla scadenza dell'opzione, quali sono le probabilità, i coni di probabilità secondo il modello di Black-Scholes e secondo una Monte Carlo simulation, ok? Una simulazione con il modello di Monte Carlo. Quindi da lì proietta proprio le cose, per cui dice sono abbastanza accurati i risultati, salvo enormi variazioni nella volatilità implicita, che sono ovviamente non prevedibili e non modellizzabili. Questo credo che invece questo profit and loss zone sia sostanzialmente il nostro vecchio amico payoff. This is like the payoff diagram, right?
That's a payoff. Sometimes they call these things hockey sticks.
Yeah, the hockey sticks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also, and this is one of the things that I always considered one of the most useful things actually that we create here. This is what I call the glass half empty. This is somebody that wants to think negative about things and think about worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
And what this is basically this is one of the most misunderstood. But what this is doing is based on that strategy that I just chose.
Yeah.
You can move along the line and you can find out what the probability is that you'll end up better than that or worse than that. So, right, for example, here, okay?
Wait, because this is complicated. Let me translate
very complicated. This one is.
Yeah, thank you. Because I remember we talked about that last time, and I remember it was pretty hard even at the time. So let's move pretty slowly. Allora, ragazzi, quest'ultimo applicativo che si chiama Get Probabilities, che sta facendo vedere adesso, è abbastanza articolato e abbastanza complesso, ma in sostanza vi fa vedere per ogni livello di prezzo del sottostante quali sono le probabilità che diciamo che si sia sotto o sopra quel livello, e quindi in sostanza che si vada a un certo livello di profitto o di perdita. Quella linea arancione ci permette, navigandola, di andare a vedere quali sono le probabilità di rimanere sopra o sotto quel determinato dato proprio statistico, ok? Infatti vedete quel fumetto grigio spiega abbastanza bene, anche se in inglese, il concetto. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. So here I'm going to go and this along this bottom axis is basically the profit and loss.
Okay, ok, l'asse X, quella parte orizzontale, non è il prezzo del sottostante, ho sbagliato prima, è il profit and loss della strategia, ovviamente. Infatti,
so let's say I want to see what's my probability of having greater than $100 loss.
Ok, right? Quindi andiamo a vedere quali sono le mie probabilità, per esempio, di avere una perdita migliore di meno $100, ok? Cioè di avere meno di $100 di perdita. Quali sono le mie probabilità? Sono del 80% basically.
80%. It's 80% probability that I'll have better.
Okay.
Which is meaning that there's a 20% chance that I'll have worse than a $100 loss.
C'è un 80% di probabilità che io abbia un risultato migliore rispetto a una perdita di circa $100, e quindi ovviamente c'è un 20% di probabilità che io abbia una perdita maggiore di $100, chiaramente.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this I believe is actually one of the most useful things and something actually we've been talking about putting on the platform. We've been talking about this for a while, but I think we're actually pretty close to getting something similar to this.
That's really interesting. What about the purple line?
Yeah, the purple line is what you call the standard deviation.
Okay.
Right. So the standard deviation is one of these things that's actually a little bit more obscure when it comes to this particular one. But what this is it's showing that the standard deviation on this particular trade is about $125. So about within one standard deviation is about $125 plus or minus.
Okay.
Now, the problem with standard deviation within trades is you usually tend to have larger losses and you tend to have larger profits. And so these are things that people like to be able to use as a comparison, but the usefulness within practice is sometimes not as great.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. La linea violetta che sta in basso, che gli ho chiesto che cosa rappresentasse, rappresenta sostanzialmente la deviazione standard, diceva poco fa, che però diceva ha un valore a livello teorico, ma poi al lato pratico si tendono ad avere profitti molto maggiori, perdite molto maggiori, e quindi poi al lato pratico non è così utile. È una cosa che a molti piace, quindi l'abbiamo messa, ma non è così così utile a livello pratico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great, Michael. I really would love to go on showing me whatever you like, and then I'm asking you a thing.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear it.
I wanted to show a complete back test of a full strategy, like for example the classic short strangle, 16 delta, 45 DT, because I'm not sure if I'm losing something, or is the look back up not showing like an equity line or something like that.
So here, for example, let's just use this advanced back testing.
Yeah.
We're going to do what you call a 16 delta call and a 16 delta put. And we're doing this over the length of the time from this 2006 to today. Now, what you can do is, and this is kind of the way that I like doing strategies, is I look to see, okay, what kind of environment do I want to test? Let's say I think that the market's going to go straight up from here. In that case, all I'm going to do is I'm only going to back test in environments where the market is within my expectation. And then I'll see how how these strategies performed over that period of time. This, however, what's happened to 2006 to today? Well, there's been a lot of choppiness, of course, but you've also had the market has gone up in this period of time. And this one here, we've done about 426 strangles, which is about 45 days. About 77% of them have been winners. The largest profit was, and this is interesting here.
COVID
almost
crash.
almost always what happens is right after the largest loss.
You have the largest profit.
That's usually about the best time it is to put on a strategy, right? At around that same time. So right when you have a hard time pulling the trigger is usually the best time to pull the trigger, right? And so here, if you look, these are the results. The typical, and what I call typical is what you call the median. Right. It's right in the middle, right in the middle. It doesn't take into consideration all the large losses, doesn't take into consideration all the large gains. It's just basically boom, right in the middle. Average, that takes in consideration all these outlier movements. The profit is usually around 100. When I say usually, the median, it's usually around $135. Now, if you take into consideration all those large losses, it's $21. Very different, right? This is why it makes sense to manage and not let those losses get too big.
Absolutely.
And then the profit per day is substantially different, right? Now, what you can also do is you can make modifications to these trades. You can say, okay, let's take some profits a little bit early, and then you can rerun these strategies again, and you can see the results of the performance of the back test. And you can see here, okay, now what happened when we did a 50% profit, the median actually went down and the average went down, but we actually made more money on the profit per day. But over that period of time, we actually lost money on that. And that has to do with this large loss that we took, right? And what happened was there was an overnight risk. And so when you're and so this is really where you can oftentimes achieve better success by putting stop losses in there. And what I mean stop losses, now don't get me wrong, please. When I'm talking about stop losses, I'm not talking about setting an automatic stop loss, right? Those are usually kind of boneheaded type things to do. Because you put in a stop loss, and usually what you're looking at, everybody else is looking at, whether or not it's some technical indicator or whatnot. And then there's a queuing up of orders. And so prices can sometimes just have huge drops in prices. So it's usually best to put these in manually. So here we do like 200%. And sometimes we can get considerably better profits by using some type of a stop loss. Risk management, see, and even here you have something better.
Let me translate just a second. Ho sostanzialmente chiesto a Michael di farci vedere un pochino l'applicativo di backtesting principale, quello che fa vedere proprio come si backtestano le strategie ripetute nel tempo e non solamente un certo giorno specifico, e ci ha fatto vedere un bel esempio di come si backtestano le short strangle in un certo periodo di tempo, addirittura dal 2006 ad oggi. Ci ha fatto vedere come leggere i risultati, a quali metriche dare attenzione fra il profitto mediano, che è quello proprio esattamente nel medio, non quello medio che quindi tiene in considerazione tutti gli outlier, ma quello mediano che quindi tiene in sta proprio esattamente a metà, e ci ha fatto vedere come cambiano i risultati al variare delle metriche che noi inseriamo, come per esempio inserendo i mitici take profit e stop loss. Take profit al 50% e stop loss al 200%. L'altra cosa su cui si è soffermato, che effettivamente fa molto riflettere, è il fatto che nel primo esempio che ho fatto vedere, il periodo più profittevole, la strangle più profittevole dal 2006 ad oggi è stata quella di marzo 2020, esattamente dopo il Covid crash, che ha seguito esattamente il mese con la strangle più perdente della storia, cioè quella di febbraio 2020. Quindi lui dice spesso dopo le operazioni peggiori ci sono le operazioni migliori, quindi è un dato molto importante da tenere in considerazione. Io in realtà ero partito chiedendogli se non mi ero perso qualcosa, qualche comando, ed effettivamente questo applicativo non faceva vedere un equity line della strategia, e credo a questo punto che sia così, che non mi sia perso niente. Basically, there is no graphic result of the backtest. It's just a
No,
table, okay? It's not, there
it's
is
a
no
table.
line or graphs. Okay,
It's a
I
table.
was afraid I was missing something somewhere.
No. And I do remember what you were talking about. His originally we did include a graphic in it. The problem with the graphic that we had, and I think there was a lot of misconceptions about it, is just think about what usually happens when you have a strategy over a long period of time. The price of SPY at the very beginning was much smaller than what it is now.
Yeah.
And so large gains weren't very substantial than large gains now, and large losses then weren't as substantial as they are now. So what it invariably did is it was weighting things now much more than it was before. And it was just causing a misconception of risk, what I felt. This is something that's on the docket to make adjustments and to perfect a little bit more. But right at the moment, we've kind of held off on that.
I totally understand. Praticamente il discorso era che le grafiche dei backtest, equity line, eccetera, erano abbastanza fuorvianti a livello proprio di impatto, perché a causa proprio del prezzo molto diverso che SPY aveva 20 anni fa rispetto a quello di oggi. Quindi le pesature dei rischi e dei profitti e delle perdite era molto diversa, e questo causava dei misunderstanding a livello anche di gestione del rischio, e quindi hanno preferito momentaneamente rimuoverlo, e ci stanno lavorando ancora dietro le quinte, e prima o poi arriveranno a ripubblicarlo.
Can I show you another? Can I show you something else that I kind of prepared? And
Show
I
us
think
anything.
I think you guys would actually really like this.
Yes.
This is a strategy. This is a I'm going to post this within your chat, and then if somebody would post this, if somebody would post this in the channel, I would appreciate that. Please. On the YouTube.
Yeah, I will.
This is right here. Okay, so what this is a spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet. Yes.
Yes.
We love that. Ci sta postando qualcosa di una sorpresa nuova, ragazzi, una novità. Ci sta postando un foglio Excel. Italian Tasty Club for us.
There you go. There you go.
Great.
I know. You know, when my wife, so it was usually I take a skateboard to work, electric skateboard.
Yeah.
But today it was raining a little bit in the morning, and so my kids are always interested in what I have to do or whatever. And I was talking to my wife, and I was saying about, I have this Italian group that I'm speaking to today.
Yeah.
And my son said, "Oh, well, the Italians, they invented pizza and tacos." I said, "Well, pizza, but maybe not tacos."
Pizza, yes, but tacos,
Mexican.
But we love your son anyway, because
yes.
Spaghetti. We invented pizza and spaghetti. You can tell your son that we make the best pasta in the world, for sure.
Yes, and Christopher Columbus as
yes,
well.
Cristoforo Colombo is from us.
Yes.
And we are planning a trip to Chicago soon, Michael. So
that would be cool.
We're going to have a pizza together in a few months.
That sounds fun.
Yes.
So what I have here, and this is something I thought you guys would appreciate. what I did here is, I know not everybody appreciates spreadsheets, but I know you guys appreciate a good spreadsheet, right?
Yes, we do.
This here is, what I did is I downloaded the CBOE has these really nice indices. I don't know if you've seen these things before, but they have these really nice indices. Yeah. They have these like S&P 500, 2% out of the money buy right index, a collar index. It's where you're buying some protection and then you're selling protection to finance it. They have all these iron condor strategy. And so what I did is I downloaded this data. I put it in a spreadsheet. Now, some of the data doesn't go back very far, but this is the thing that you want to check out, which is this is the SPX. This is cash. And then this is the buy right index, basically like a covered call type index, right? And then some of the data now. And so what I did for this particular strategy, for this particular testing, is I went back to because I got all the data going back at this point. I started basically these tests at August of 2021 because that's where I have all the data going back, because it's missing
a month before our first meeting. So that's perfect.
And then at the top, if you want to learn a little bit about how each strategy is created, you just click right here.
And you go to the CBOE website. Yeah.
And you go right here to the CBO website and you can kind of look at a little bit more information. You know, some of them have some pretty significant data. You can look at the methodologies on these things. You can get quite geeky when it comes to it. So what I have here then is I have this analysis page. And this is, so I got the data first. Then what I did is I did a returns. So I figured out what the returns are each day. And then I'm doing an analysis on those returns. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is, and then so these are the returns at the top, day-to-day returns. And you can see that I'm just taking the current minus the previous divided by the previous, right?
Yeah. So percentage.
Simple math.
Day by day.
Here.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, I show, okay, the S&P 500, right? What's the correlation with the S&P 500? Now, remember, correlation goes from -1 to +1. Zero represents a no relationship, or very, very little relationship. So this, of course, is going to be 1. And you can see, like, what's got the, okay, this is about a 0.2. What's this? Oh, it's an iron condor. Kind of surprisingly.
The less correlated one, of course, it's the iron condor index.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't have thought this as much.
No.
So, but you can see, you can look at the returns since August 2021. Now, remember, right after we talked, maybe this is a coincidence or no coincidence, is that the market started dropping right after we talked, right? That was kind of the peak.
Let's see if we mark the bottom today with our second chat.
I hope so.
I hope so, definitely.
So, because I've been kind of backing up the truck, I'm going to run into some cash flow problems if this market doesn't start.
Yes, definitely.
So if you look here, the S&P 500 during that period of time is down about 11.5%. Okay, from where we were, which wasn't quite the peak.
No, but
it was pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Now you can look to see how the strategies have performed. Look at the only one that's actually had a positive here. That's the iron condor.
Yeah, iron condor one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look at the standard deviation returns, what does that mean? That means that between a positive and a negative, on a day-to-day basis, you tend to have about 1.3% either up in the market or 1.3% down in the market.
Yeah, so it's the volatility of returns, basically. Of daily
volatility of returns. The greater the number, the more not the worse, but just the more excitement.
Yeah.
The smaller the number, the more complacent. Right? Yeah. More complacent. This is.
I think I should translate a little bit, because now I'm caught up listening to you, because I love to hear telling things, but we are forgetting about Italian people. Sorry, ragazzi, scusate se ogni tanto mi perdo, ma è così bello sentirlo raccontare di come manipola i dati e come studia le cose, che ogni tanto mi mi perdo. Allora, in pratica ci ha preparato questo foglio Excel apposta per noi, infatti l'ha proprio chiamato Italian Tasty Club, e dove ci ha detto: vi ho preparato un'analisi che secondo me è interessante, fatta apposta per voi, su questo foglio Excel, di cui vi ho appena pubblicato il link sia sul gruppo Zoom, sulla diretta Zoom, che sul canale YouTube, dove ha messo a confronto i dati dell'S&P 500 dal 12 agosto 2021, un mesetto prima della nostra prima chiacchierata, fino ad oggi, con questi indici che vedete qua, con questi ticker che vedete qui, BXY, CLL, 3M, BXMD, che sono dei prodotti finanziari emessi dal SIBOE, e lì sopra ci sono i link al sito del SIBOE dove potete andare a vedere la pagina del prodotto relativo con i relativi, le relative logiche di costruzione, proprio i dati effettivi sul sito del SIBOE, che non sono altro che prodotti finanziari che inglobano delle strategie ozionistiche. Lo vedete dal titolo. In pratica sono indici con le covered call, con le buy put di protezione, oppure con le collar, oppure con le iron condor. Sono tutte strategie ozionistiche confezionate in un prodotto finanziario che quindi ha un grafico. Infatti le vediamo sempre anche su TradingView, li conoscevamo già, non proprio tutti, alcuni non li conoscevo come sigle, ma la maggior parte sì. E lui ci sta facendo vedere su quel grafico la differenza in termini di performance da tutti i punti di vista fra l'S&P 500 e questi indici, e lo vedete proprio lì, studiando i ritorni giornalieri, la loro relativa volatilità, studiando la standard deviation dei ritorni, ci fa vedere che l'S&P 500 da agosto 2021 ad oggi è sceso dell'11,5%. Questi altri qua che cosa hanno fatto? Quanto sono correlati all'S&P 500, che volatilità hanno avuto. Interessante notare che l'unico di questi indici che ha performato positivamente in questo periodo di tempo è quello delle Iron Condor, quello che ha come sigla ticker CNDR. Ok?
Mm-hmm.
Molto interessante.
Now,
Yeah.
if you look here, this is the quantiles, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes these are called percentiles. The first quantile is going to be, think of this as the, let me put this another way. This is the largest gain. And this would be the bottom, which is the largest loss.
Okay.
And this here would be just basically the, this is just another word for saying the median.
The median. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so if you look at these numbers, right?
Yeah.
And these numbers these are percentages.
Yes.
What we have them here, and this is like a day-to-day basis. All of them pretty much have been negative, except for two of them or three of them here. No, a little bit more than that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, we have 7 of these, 16 or so that are positive. Now, remember, we're in a downward moving market. These things can be different. Here's a few things that I find interesting. Is one, iron condors, if they're managed correctly and you're careful with how you put them on. In other words, you do these things in high moments of high implied volatility, you manage them, you do it in efficient products, they can be quite profitable historically. And this is basically backing that up. You know, the biggest gain that we've seen on a day is 2%, 2.3%. Now, on an upward moving market, you're going to have a hard time beating just being long the S&P 500.
Absolutely, we know that.
Yeah. But not everybody, and this is the thing, is not everybody just wants to take the risk that is within the S&P 500. You know, that's a lot of risk.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk to be taken where it's either up or down by 1.5% a day. Some people would much rather end up with lower returns, but less volatility. I can't tell you what's right or not. It's what's appropriate for you and your own risk tolerance. And it has to do with age, and it has to do with your viewpoint on risk and where you are in life and your
capital you're managing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like I said, putting on some iron condors is not a bad strategy to do. One is because you have diversification with the overall market.
Yeah.
It's something that you can do on the side. You can read out exactly
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you. What's the basic setup of this kind of iron condors? Let's have a look at that together.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this is not done the exact same way of how we sometimes talk about it on tastytrade here. We can look at the methodology.
No?
No, these aren't. Let me show you here. Let me put this up. And I got to read this here because I kind of forget sometimes.
Yeah.
It looks like they're selling out of the money SPX puts at the 20 delta.
Yeah.
And then you're doing it for the 20 delta as well.
Yeah.
Then you're buying the 5 deltas.
Okay.
Right? And you're buying the 5 deltas too. Okay. So it's basically right outside of one standard deviation and right outside of two standard deviations.
Yeah. It's a 20 to 5 delta iron condor.
Now, what they also have here is, and they're doing this too within the, I believe this is one where they're using the monthlies. Oh, yeah, they're using the monthly SPX options.
Yeah.
And then what they also do is 3, and this is a strategy that wouldn't have made sense until just recently. But they're holding treasury bills, 1 month treasury bills, as a way of accentuating the return and getting some type of better one, diversification, and also making a little bit of interest on that uninvested money.
That's interesting. Oh, 1 year economy index contribute. That's really interesting. So basically they go monthly expiration to monthly expiration. That's it, month to month. So every third Friday they close the previous one and they open the following one. That's it, right? Yeah,
you could think of it as rolling. But in effect what they're doing is they're just recreating, right? If they got a loss, they got a loss. They're just taking it off.
Yeah.
They're putting, because guess what? I mean, you can call it whatever it is, a roll or not a roll.
Yeah,
but in effect, every time you're putting on a new trade, and that goes for if you're rolling the same strikes. If you wouldn't put those same strikes on to start with, you know, that's just as good a reason to refocus and to use new ones. And that's the results of this particular strategy is. Now, if you want to test a individual one using the tastytrade type methodology, you can do that using the look back using SPY.
Okay, yeah, of course. I was having a look at the chart basically of this ETF, of this index.
Well, you talking about on the spreadsheet?
No, like the regular chart.
Oh, yes, you actually can. And that is something CNDR. You can actually pull this up, CNDR.
I think it tastytrade as well, probably.
Yep. See, you can do that too here.
And that's basically a back test.
It is a back test, you know, and it's really nice that one, it's sometimes very hard to say, hey, I want you to go to my website and I want you to just believe that we're doing it honest, you know, right? Because people don't know who I am. They don't know, you know, whatever. But they do believe, you know, when you show the same results and you say, hey, look, everything we do is transparent. We can show you the same data. And hey, look, even the CBOE does the same data. And the results are very similar to what we're getting. So everything we do is we try to be transparent in it. And so that's why I'm using another company's information here, the CBOEs. And these are done by academics too. These are done by PhDs, and much of their a lot of their data has been analyzed within universities too as well. And there's some white papers that they have on many of these strategies on their websites that they show and they write up. So they actually have some really good information, academic research on their websites.
Good. Allora ragazzi, che dire, abbiamo detto un sacchissimo di roba, ma in sostanza abbiamo commentato come è possibile utilizzare dati come questo per analizzare diverse strategie, diversi approcci al mercato e decidere anche magari che qualcuno potrebbe non essere a proprio agio con una volatilità dei ritorni dell'1,3% al giorno, che è quella media dell'S&P 500, e invece preferire una volatilità dei ritorni molto più bassa, come quello di questo ETF sulle Iron Condor, CNDR, che è dello 0,5%, quindi è molto inferiore rispetto all'1,3%, e andare a puntare a ritorni migliori in mercati laterali ribassisti. Ovvio che, come ha detto lui, quando c'è un bull market ci sono pochissime cose al mondo che riescono a battere la performance dell'essere semplicemente long S&P 500. Però essere long S&P 500 ha dei costi in termini di rischio che uno si assume indirettamente, e quindi lui dice ci sono magari persone che preferiscono una strategia a rischio definito e totalmente decorrelata all'andamento del mercato generale, perché guardate il tasso di correlazione che è lì, quello in verdino in basso, 0,17, quella è la correlazione con l'S&P 500, e vuol dire che un valore vicino allo zero significa che è una strategia totalmente decorrelata dal mercato. Quindi addirittura uno potrebbe farle entrambe e utilizzarla come dinamica di decorrelazione e diversificazione rispetto al mercato. Quindi molto 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 interessante. I have a question about data, Michael,
Sure. Of
because
course.
I see that a lot of like many backtesting apps have the problem of having a set of clean data, of clean past data. Tom, very often in the tastylive segments, like comments about the fact that you spend a lot of time cleaning your data sets.
Yeah.
Is it true? First of all, what kind of work do you do to do that? And is this same set of clean data the one that is feeding the look back backtesting app?
It is, yeah. So let me.
Io gli ho chiesto, ragazzi, una cosa molto importante. Siccome so che la maggior parte dei problemi che hanno gli applicativi di backtesting con le opzioni è il dataset di dati che devono essere puliti, devono essere pieni, perché spesso sono sporchi o hanno dei bad tick o hanno dei buchi, e quindi non è per niente facile avere un set di dati sulle opzioni, che sono moli di dati enormi ovviamente, sul passato, che siano affidabili e puliti. Allora gli ho chiesto, uno, visto che Tom ne parla sempre nelle dirette, se è vero che loro spendono tutto questo tempo a sistemare, pulire e pettinare i loro set di dati, e secondo, se è quello stesso set di dati così puliti e pettinati che alimenta l'applicativo di Lookback che abbiamo visto poco fa.
So one of the things that you think that it's okay, it's 2023, all this data has been cleaned up, there's no such thing as dirty data. Man, that is not at all true. And let me show you, like, I think it was this CLL3M. When I downloaded the data, I noticed that there was loss of like 90%. And what I noticed is that when you looked at the data, there was some prices here, these first two prices, if I remember right, because originally I started on the 10th, but the prices that I had, I think they were like 1,300, and this was like 1,286, and then all of a sudden it goes to 284. Well, that's wrong. That's wrong. You know, there was an error in there.
Yeah.
So when stuff like that happens, it's the way that this is data is on the back end. Sometimes sometimes it goes live, and then the creators of the index have a change and they say, okay, well, we need to make it a $300 index as opposed to a $1,200 index. And so they use the multiplier and they change things around. I remember when I was at the Smalls Exchange and creating those indices, we sometimes, when we were creating the cash indices, we would have a different multiplier and it would go live. And before we actually started trading the products and releasing the products, we would come up with an index and it's still live. And then we would decided that we needed to change something to make it a little bit more user-friendly, and we would make an adjustment to things. And so instead of erasing past data, we would just go forward from there. Yeah. And that's a very common issue in company-created indices for things to be off a little bit. Another difference is that, and this is not so much as wrong, but sometimes the results can be a little bit worse by not looking at dividends. And what I mean by that is if you look at SPX, now SPX is a cash index.
Yeah.
But what you can also do is you can look at something like, let's say you're looking at just the S&P 500 cash.
Yeah.
The S&P 500 cash doesn't have in it dividends. So you can actually look at something else called the S&P 500 total return index.
Mm-hmm.
And so over a 1 year period, a 1.5 year period, what we're doing right here, it is not making a difference. But if you're looking over a 10, 20-year difference, it can make a difference. Those dividends, think about it, 3% over 10 years. That's significant.
Yeah.
With compounded interest and whatnot, that's almost 50%.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're looking at it, you're just looking at the S&P 500. The point that I'm making here is that unless you have some experience in having made, I've been involved in this for over 20 years, I've made every mistake possible. I've made every mistake.
So experienced. That's why you can call yourself an expert.
I'm not exaggerating. I have made pretty much every mistake, but you learn over time.
Of course.
And so also when it comes to Greeks are oftentimes calculated differently. And there's oftentimes umpteen different ways of creating implied volatility. And firms have different forms of volatility. And so even then, if you're looking at intraday, sometimes the volatility can be really quite erroneous. Why? Because the current calculation of implied volatility looks out all the way out to pretty far out in the wings. What you can have is sometimes a slight modification or slight spread difference. It can jack up the implied volatility momentarily. And so then the high point of the day can be much higher than where it truly is. And so you have to clean things up.
Yeah.
And you have to use your best knowledge to clean things up. And so sometimes there's a little bit of an issue when you're cleaning and you have to make judgment calls, but you're always trying to go into it and use your best judgment to make these decisions.
But then the thing is, basically, you're using your same source, the same data that feeds your internal studies that you use for your segments is the same that is feeding the look back application for the crowd, for the public.
Yes.
That's really generous of you, considering how much effort and time and work you put into this kind of cleaning work. That's really generous of you.
Well, thank you. And then there's also another big thing is dividends on stocks, right? I said it about the S&P 500, but then there's also times when you have splits. Right.
Yeah,
splits can also be affected, and not everybody makes adjustments to stocks based on splits. And so sometimes you see these big jumps. Future prices too, right? Future prices. There's no such thing as a continuous futures.
No, of course. It's just a patchwork of
it's a patchwork.
3 months expiration. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know when working at the Smalls Exchange, there's actually several different methods for doing continuous. And, when you think out loud, you think, okay, well, how can you do it? Well, you just subtract the previous and you just patch them together. It's a lot more work that goes into it than that.
Yeah.
And so there's 3 very known methods of doing it. Why would you choose one over the other? It comes down to personal judgment sometimes.
Ragazzi, ovviamente adesso stiamo andando un po' nel filosofico e anche un po' nel nerd, obiettivamente, nel geek, ma stavamo chiacchierando di quali sono tutte le potenziali problematiche che esistono nel mondo dei prodotti finanziari relativamente proprio al problema dello storico dei dati. Lui diceva che spesso c'è il fatto che un certo indice viene creato in un certo modo, poi viene cambiata la logica per renderlo più user friendly, più friendly nei confronti del pubblico, e a quel punto il vecchio dataset non viene cancellato, non viene sovrascritto e quindi tu hai un salto di dati. Oppure altre volte c'è un problema dei dividendi, diceva poco fa, perché c'è una discreta differenza fra un indice che traccia i titoli solo a livello di movimento di prezzo, invece uno che tiene in considerazione anche i dividendi, perché magari su 1 anno e mezzo non fa differenza, ma invece su 10-12 anni i dividendi fanno tanta differenza, considerato ricapitalizzazione, eccetera, eccetera. E ne parleremo al corso con Mirko Dividend for Life. Poi c'è il problema dei future, perché non esiste il continuous dei future, ma esiste solamente un patchwork di scadenze trimestrali, e a seconda di come fai la giuntura fra una scadenza e l'altra cambia tutto. Poi c'è il problema dei dividendi sulle singole azioni, non solo sugli indici. Insomma, ci sono veramente gli stock split, quindi ci sono tante problematiche legate alla questione dei dati, e io gli ho commentato il fatto che il fatto stesso che tutti i loro dataset che hanno speso così tanto tempo e sforzo a pulire e a sistemare, che usano per i loro studi interni e che poi alimentano quelle slide, quelle bellissime ricerche che loro fanno vedere nelle dirette di tastylive, sono gli stessi che alimentano anche l'applicativo di Lookback che noi tutti possiamo utilizzare. È una cosa veramente molto generosa e molto, a mio parere, bella da parte loro. That's really nice, Michael. And we got a little nerdy about that, but
a little bit, but that's why you got me on air. That's kind of what I talk about.
Exactly, Dr. Data, of course. I have a few more nerdy questions, but let me forward you a couple of questions coming from our followers. One is from Gianluca, and he asks, in your opinion, what's the biggest, advantage, the biggest plus of your backtesting app compared to other backtesting apps like Get Volatility or Option Omega or like Quant Connect, etc. I would say beside pricing, because that's the biggest one, probably because your one is free and the other one are paid. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, that definitely is. I mean, a big advantage. You can always write us. We're quick at getting back. We try. There's no. We're not. We don't have a financial incentive to provide this. This is just a goodwill type thing for us, and we hope to make this better over time.
Gianluca, ovviamente una parte della risposta l'ho data io nel fargli la domanda, nel senso che ovviamente il punto principale, il vantaggio più grande è che è un applicativo gratuito, mentre gli altri sono praticamente tutti a pagamento, quindi mi sembra che quello sia la cosa più importante. Infatti lui ha detto, per noi non c'è un secondo fine in questa cosa, è tutta goodwill, che vuol dire tutta benevolenza più che beneficenza, diciamo, una cosa che facciamo gratuitamente solo come creazione di valore nei confronti dei nostri follower, quindi direi che questa è la cosa principale. Ha detto, in generale stiamo cercando di migliorarla e di renderla ancora più performante, e noi gliene siamo molto grati. Alessandro has a question that has nothing to do with our data world, but is just asking if you know if there is any intention of creating a paper account on tastytrade, like, the one with fake money just to practice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, paper trading accounts. I actually like paper trading accounts. I feel like it's always a good way to get people involved that are sometimes a little bit nervous of how the market reacts. I'm not opposed to that. I know there's been some discussions on that. Right now, I don't believe that there is any potential at this exact moment. That's actually one of the things that the idea behind just having the regular back test is that you could not the advanced back test, which the advanced back test is where you go back in time and you do a strategy consistently over time. But let's say you wanted to look back at S&P 500 and you were to do a strategy right before COVID.
Yeah.
What strategy? I don't know, a straddle, right? The day before COVID, that the market crashed after that, and then that in effect is what I call a back test without having to wait for it, without having to wait for the results. So you can put on these strategies and you can see how well it works over time.
I'm totally with you. I think the thing people is looking for is more a kind of exercise, kind of activity. It's not so much about being conscious about the results, because of course that is easier thanks to you, basically. but it's a thing about knowing where to click and what to do and how to manage a position, how to close it, how to put a stop loss order, etc. So it's more about, you know, getting friendly with the platform.
What I would say with these things is that we don't know unless people write about these things, right? It's like, I think a lot of times it's internal. You're like, well, why do I need a back testing environment? I already know options, you know, why do I need a paper trading? I don't need it. Right. And so sometimes that's what can happen within a firm. So if you have questions about that, or you want a feature, write us, right? Support at tastylive.com, and we'll make sure that information gets to the.
Repeat the address, please.
It would be support at tastytrade. I would say support at tastytrade.
Tastytrade, yeah. Alessandro, immagino che tu abbia capito, perché mi sembra che parli inglese, ma lo ripeto per tutti gli altri. Sostanzialmente Michael diceva che da quello che lui sa non è una priorità in questo momento nella loro tabella di marcia quella di creare i paper trading account su Tastyworks, quelli con proprio il denaro virtuale per esercitarsi a usare la piattaforma. Però ha aggiunto una cosa importante che sembra, come dire, un po' superficiale, ma alla fine è la verità, soprattutto nelle grandi aziende. Lui diceva: noi non sappiamo ufficialmente qualcosa se non ce la scrivete. E sapete, ogni tanto, spesso capita che si prendano decisioni su che cosa sviluppare, su cosa concentrarsi, basandosi sulle necessità interne. Ci si guarda fra di noi e uno dice: no, io non ho bisogno di un paper trading account, io non ho bisogno di un paper trading account, perché loro internamente non ne hanno bisogno, e se non gli arriva un feedback abbastanza importante da parte di noi utenti sul fatto che sia una cosa che a noi serve veramente tanto e che loro devono spendere tempo e risorse a sviluppare, loro effettivamente potrebbero anche non saperlo, non avere una percezione così chiara. Quindi magari ci mettiamo tutti insieme per fargli una richiesta di gruppo scritta di questa cosa, ok? Yes, that's it. As the ring, like the bell reminded us, it's 10 p.m. so we got to our time, but I would have so much questions for you. I will leave you with just one last question, Michael, and then we can leave you. Tell us just a little bit about the study process that is behind the curtains of what we see during your segments when you develop strategies and role systems, mechanics, adjustments, etc. What's behind the scenes? People working on that, applications, what kind of tools are you using, what kind of kind of people, like profile, where are you taking from engineering or from math or from where? Gli ho chiesto, ragazzi, di darci solo un'ultima risposta, un'indicazione su che cosa sta dietro le quinte di tutto il lavoro che loro fanno per studiare le loro strategie, che poi presentano nelle loro dirette, quando studiano strategie, logiche, meccaniche, aggiustamenti, stop loss, take profit, eccetera, eccetera, prima di presentarle in modo ufficiale al loro pubblico. Cosa c'è dietro? Se usano software di qualche tipo, se usano matematica, ingegneria, qual è il profilo di persona che lavora da loro, insomma, un po' di sguardo dietro le quinte.
So a lot of actually, right now we're actually hiring somebody. We're hiring somebody for the research team. So if you were one of the viewers is looking for a job here in Chicago, let us know and send us your resume. You know, but
wow, dicono che stanno assumendo per il team di ricerca, ragazzi. Se qualcuno vuole andare a lavorare a Chicago, di scrivergli, ha detto.
So there's something that we look for is one. It's always a guess when you're hiring somebody, right? What you're really looking for is you just ask them why they're interested in the job first. You know, what makes them interested in coming to work for us, right? But we want people that have interests within the markets, that understand the markets, that understand some basics behind options, or at least can understand it and understand some of the pricing behind it. Nowadays, I feel that in order to do research, not only the way, but I feel like one of the main ways of doing research is to know how to program. You don't have to be expert, but you have to know how to program at least somewhat, or not afraid of getting your hands dirty. It's something that for 9 years of me working here, I've just been building applications for us to use internally, right? So there's hundreds of programs that I've built on the back end that if somebody wants to do a visualization of a stock and compare it to interest rates, okay, they just type in the stock, they type in what yield to maturity they want to look at, and it will calculate and it will visualize it out. If they want to download data and to be able to do a test on that to look at the volatility, we got the data for that. And you go within the Python code and you go and you make adjustments. It tends to be that a lot of times the people with those skills tend to be within computer science or math, physics. I have a degree in finance. My undergraduate is finance, and then computer science, and then operations research, data science. And so that's kind of my background behind things. Anton has a degree in economics. Julia has a degree in physics. Jacob has it in math. Rick Welsh, who we used to have working for us, he had it in kinesiology, which is kinesiology, which is yeah, it's basically, but then he had an MBA. So, but kinesiology is like the study of exercise in bones.
Yeah, I know.
Very different
background.
Most of the people that we've had over the years, Kai Zhang, he's got an MBA, but he also has an undergraduate in computer science. So I'd say most of the people that we've had working with us have all of them have had an interest in finance, but probably about 50% of them have undergrads in finance. But the rest of them have degrees in the STEMs.
Ok, in pratica ragazzi diceva che le persone che lavorano da loro, ovviamente, o chi volesse lavorare da loro, dovrebbe in prima battuta essere un minimo capace di programmare, o perlomeno non essere intimidito dal fatto di sporcarsi le mani con il codice. E poi diceva che la gran parte del lavoro che lui ha svolto a tastytrade è stato proprio costruire, addirittura lui ha detto centinaia di applicativi ad uso interno, quindi tutti applicativi in Python, ha citato come codice, che gli permettevano di fare cose diverse, come per esempio visualizzare il rapporto fra un'azione e una obbligazione con una certa yield to maturity, eccetera, eccetera. Oppure un applicativo per scaricare i dati passati di una certa azione, oppure un applicativo per confrontare il movimento di una certa prodotto finanziario con un altro. Cioè ha detto che una gran parte del loro lavoro è stato proprio costruire applicativi ad uso interno che hanno poi utilizzato per gestire e creare tutte le loro ricerche. E poi stava raccontando un po' dei vari background che hanno i membri del team di ricerca, li ha citati proprio per nome, dicendo che alla fine della fiera hanno tutti un interesse per il mondo finanziario, ovviamente un interesse nella finanza, ma i loro background spaziano fra la matematica, la fisica, l'informatica, computer science, più qualcuno un po' particolare come un membro che è esperto in kinesiologia, eccetera, eccetera. Però diciamo che vengono tutti dal mondo, chiaramente, dei numeri, della matematica, della fisica e dell'informatica.
But I do have to say that one of the most qualified people that I've met, he doesn't even have a degree. And he works for one of our international offices. He's one of the most qualified guys that I know. And so this is not just, we've never been just limited to degrees or not degrees. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways of learning, and we recognize that too, you know?
Beh, bella questa cosa che ha detto.
It's more of your background and your interest. To me, it's more your background and your interest.
Yeah. Ha detto che una delle persone più interessanti, più in gamba che ha conosciuto non aveva neanche una laurea ed lavorava in un'azienda del mondo finanziario, ma che non aveva nessuna laurea, ed era assolutamente una delle persone più qualificate, più in gamba che ha mai conosciuto. E quindi per dire che loro riconoscono anche al di là le qualità, anche al di là del pezzo di carta della laurea, e che sono guardano più qual è il tuo interesse e qual è il tuo background. Molto interessante. That's very nice of you, Michael. Wow, that's a lot. I would ask the Italian crowd if they have any final thing to say or any final question, because otherwise I would free Michael to go to his funny kids that think that tacos were born in Italy. Ragazzi, se avete qualche domanda, osservazione o qualunque spunto, vi prego di spararle ora, perché se no lasciamo andare il buon Michael e lo lasciamo tornare dai suoi bambini, di cui ci raccontava all'inizio che uno stamattina, quando gli ha detto cosa fai oggi papà, gli ha detto devo incontrarmi con un gruppo di trader italiani, lui gli ha detto ah sì sì, gli italiani che hanno inventato la pizza e i tacos, e allora that's an interesting question by Alessandro. He says, has something changed in your project after the EG Group acquisition, the buyout from EG?
Has something changed? Oh,
maybe Tom was saying that now that there is a long-term plan to slowly transition to Europe a little bit, to bring the
yeah, I would
as
say
well.
that. I mean, what always happens? What always usually happens when a bigger company buys you out is usually you have a little bit more HR. You know?
Yeah.
But I would say that for the most, as far as what I do and what the people around me, nothing's really changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing's really changed. I mean, the growth is here in the United States, and as far as my knowledge, it's U.S. centric. It is stock and or equity and option centric and future centric, and so you know, I know that there's within the European realm there's CFDs and other things, and those, but we can't trade those here in the United States.
Yeah.
So it's now we do have a branch that Pete Molnat went to that does trade currencies, and so we do have the ability to trade currencies now that we never had before. So we are doing a little bit more of that now, and I do have feeds that have to do with currencies. But as far as the research on our side, not much.
Okay.
Not much has changed. It's for the most part it's pretty much the same.
Ok, good. Beh, Alessandro sostanzialmente dice che non è cambiato quasi nulla dal suo punto di vista, dal punto di vista suo e del suo team e del suo lavoro, perché il business è ancora Stati Uniti centrico e ha solamente avuto qualche nuovo feed di dati sul fronte delle valute e del mondo Forex, ma ha detto che tutti i prodotti che possiamo usare noi in Europa, tipo i CFD e cose varie, loro negli Stati Uniti non li possono usare, sono vietati, quindi non è cambiato molto. E poi ha detto, vabbè, per il resto, come quando qualunque azienda di grossa ti acquisisce, ci sarà forse più HR, ci sarà forse un pochino più di burocrazia, ma di fatto non cambierà molto. Ok, Michael, if there are no more questions, I would free you up and thank you from the heart again for being with us for the second time.
It's always a pleasure. Anytime you need me.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure, and we will write you. That's for sure. Okay. So...
dr.data at tastylive.com.
Thank you very much. Ragazzi, saluto Michael, lui ringrazia e saluta altrettanto. Scriviamogli dr.data@tastylive.com, qualunque domanda e qualunque cosa, lui è molto disponibile. Grazie ancora Michael. Thank you. And see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Molto bene, con questo saluto concludiamo questo appuntamento di Formula tastytrade. È stato veramente bello e ogni volta che parlo con i membri del team di Tasty mi lasciano quella carica di positività e di ottimismo nei confronti del trading e anche di vedute larghe proprio sul mondo del trading con le opzioni, con i future e con i prodotti regolamentati. Mi danno proprio l'idea di essere un gruppo di persone positive che fanno tanto per loro e per il resto del mondo. Quindi è veramente una carica sempre molto positiva quella che mi lasciano. Io vi saluto ricordandovi due cose, ovvero che se vi interessa il mondo tastytrade, sappiate che noi abbiamo un programma che segue quel mondo lì settimanalmente, 2 volte alla settimana. Ci troviamo online e prendiamo ciò che loro fanno, li seguiamo, guardiamo le loro mail, guardiamo le loro dirette e replichiamo alcune delle loro operazioni sempre in modo molto preciso, cioè su un conto reale aperto sul broker tastytrade, il loro broker, col risk management fatto bene, col tracking fatto bene, facciamo un'operatività molto carina e infatti il 2022, nonostante non sia stato un anno rialzista, abbiamo avuto un risultato veramente molto molto importante, superando il 30% di rendimento sul conto, per cui un risultato veramente molto significativo sul conto sala, con tutte le operazioni fatte davanti alle persone insieme con noi. E questo però è se già siete dei trader in opzioni che già conoscono questo mondo, hanno già degli account o conoscono già il mondo proprio di tastytrade e vogliono semplicemente seguirlo in compagnia di una community di trader like-minded, cioè con la stessa allineamento di obiettivi e di logiche. Se invece siete neofiti, non avete idea di cosa vuol dire opzioni e tantomeno di cosa vuol dire farci trading, sappiate che abbiamo un bellissimo corso base di opzioni che si chiama Option One e che vi aiuta a muovere i primissimi passi nel mondo delle opzioni. Vi faccio vedere velocemente la pagina di iscrizione nel caso che qualcuno fosse interessato a valutare la cosa. Abbiamo un'edizione nuova il 15 e 16 di aprile sulla pagina opzionetica.com, alla voce corsi schiacciate Option One e arrivate sulla pagina del corso che spiega bene come si svolge questo corso, che appunto ha queste date qua in aula, qui nel nostro nuovo ufficio fighissimo, ad un costo molto contenuto se si considera che è un corso che ha un grande precorso, un weekend molto full immersion e un bel follow up. Si affrontano le opzioni sul forex, le opzioni sulle azioni, si lavora su tantissimi prodotti diversi, ci sono un sacco di tool compresi. E anche qui l'anno scorso sia sul Forex che sulle azioni abbiamo ottenuto risultati molto molto notevoli, molto importanti a livello percentuale. E quindi le cose vanno bene con un risk management molto preciso. Detto questo, vi saluto e vi auguro una buona serata. Ciao ragazzi, buona serata a tutti. Alla prossima appuntamento di Formula Tastytrade.